My name is Matthew Woolen, and today we are on a mission to get as many apples as we can into one pie. The flavor of 1,000 apples, that's crazy. Nobody can do that, or can they?
There's our guy. Okay. I need your help.
I'm here.
Matt and I need your help. Yeah, we've been going crazy on apple pie stuff.
Yeah?
And you know, like most apple pies are, I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there, but a lot of them are just kind of like bland. We think we can get like 100 apples in one pie through various techniques.
As long as the pie plate's the size of a car.
You probably need 2 full cases for sure, so.
127. Okay.
Okay. You were counting?
I am so good. You have no idea.
It's early.
You can take it down, Merv, will bring it back. Okay?
Yeah.
You need a freeze dryer, you need a vacuum machine, you need a dehydrator, you need a blender. We used a bunch of tools. So we juiced apples, we freeze-dried apples, we dehydrated apples, we made an apple gel, we made an apple powder to put in the pie crust. It's gonna take you 4 days to make this pie. It's crazy, but we're gonna do it. Let's start. So here's the problem. We have 50 pounds of apples. How do you actually get that into one pie? In one apple, we've got about 85% moisture. So our goal here is to remove the non-appley moisture and pack it in. We are going to freeze dry these apples, and it's gonna end up in our apple pie filling. It's gonna take 24 hours for this to freeze dry. So this is almost a two-day process right here. Or you could just buy freeze-dried apples.
The technical term for a freeze dryer is lyophilizer.
A lyophilizer?
Lyophilizer.
Lyophilizer.
I know, but just call it a freeze dryer.
Yeah. We're gonna do about 10 apples for the freeze drying. 8 of them will go in the pie. 2 of them will go in the crust. Gonna keep the skin on. There's a lot of flavor in that skin. So if you're doomsday prepper, you already have your freeze dryer. It's gonna suck up all that concentrate, pack in all that apple flavor we want. So we lose 85% moisture loss. So it'll freeze, go through a freeze cycle, and then it'll go through a vacuum and dry cycle. So 36 hours later, right? We end up with all those apples, and they're super light. This is the amount we're gonna put to start the filling with, okay? 210 grams. In each can of concentrate, there's about 16.5 apples that have been juiced and reduced. So let's grab 16 apples. We've got Granny Smith, Grabenstein, Honeycrisp. A small apple is called a schoolboy. So that's 16 apples, various assorted sizes. Do it there. So I don't know at Treetop if they peel their apples, but we're gonna peel them before we juice them. Trick, use a Parisian scoop or a melon baller. When you use the Parisian scoop, it actually kind of gives you a little place to put your thumb and finger to hold it, right? So you can actually walk around the apple. Johnny Appleseed, what? Out comes the juice. The apple fiber.
Guess how many hams this is?
1.
It's 100.
All right. It's still settling, so this is all like impurities that through the concentrating process will actually be removed and filtered. So our actual juice is still settling here, but it looks like it's about close to 1,400 milliliters. So this is basically 1 can here. It's very clear, so definitely been filtered.
This is 16 apples in here? You pulled it?
Yeah.
Pretty color. So is this Treetop?
Treetop, they've nailed it, yeah.
That has actual nice fresh apple flavor. Is that you'd think like the homemade one with these insane apples would be way better, but it has like no apple flavor.
A lot of flavor gets lost in that high temperature. So we just decided to use Treetop concentrate. They've got it down.
How do they do it?
Let's go with the Treetop. So we're gonna put the fresh apple flavor back into the freeze-dried apple. 2 cans of concentrate into the 210 grams of freeze-dried apples. and to the vacuum machine. If you don't have a vacuum machine, you just use a Ziploc bag, kind of squeeze out the air and put it in your fridge, let them hydrate overnight. This liquid will soak right up into those freeze-dried apples. We've got some we did overnight. The most tart apple out there, Granny Smith, goes really well with sugar. That's why it makes a dang good pie. Into the freeze dryer. It's gonna run another cycle, 24 hours. We are going to peel them, core them, dehydrate them. These will have more solid apple mass than the freeze-dried ones. Just gives us a different texture. Ooh, juicy. Commercially, they make apple pie fillings with gel-an, so that's what we're gonna make. We're gonna make a nice clear fluid gel, and this is a binder. It brings everything together. It keeps everything juicy. We're just looking to remove moisture and make them a little leathery. We're gonna set this on the dehydrate mode. The result is gonna depend on how thick you cut your apples. These can go overnight at 140 or so, or you can do them hot, about 200 degrees for a few hours. So we dehydrated the apples, and that's what they all turned into. So again, 85% moisture loss. It's gonna be part of our pie filling. Continuing on with our super apple pie, we're gonna rehydrate our twice freeze-dried apples with the dehydrated apples, and we're gonna hydrate them with 2 more cans of treetop concentrate. Okay. Might as well hydrate in the same pot you're gonna cook it in. Dehydrated apples are double freeze-dried apples. No silica packet. 2 more cans. 33 more apples. Getting close to that 100 mark. Open up a can of apple whoop-ass. Give it a little stir. Help get the liquid to start to soak in. Through the cooking process, it'll all hydrate. Okay. We're gonna set this aside. We have some other stuff to add to it when we cook it, but we'll let that hydrate right now. All right, so we're gonna make the apple fluid gel. Fluid gel is a complicated process. There's a class on ChefSteps. We're gonna run you through the process here. Got our blender set up. We've got a stovetop here. This is can number 5 going into the whole recipe. And this is can number 6. We're gonna infuse the apple concentrate with some vanilla and some brown sugar. Once this mixture boils, we're gonna put it into the blender. We're almost there.
Horse or something. You know what I'm talking about? Sorry.
That's okay. Let me clean this up, man. To write a boil, we're gonna remove this vanilla bean pod. It's gonna go into the blender. Turn the blender on with the lid on. We're gonna add our gel-an, and we're actually gonna bring it to the boil in the blender. What this does is it keeps all the moisture inside and trapped, so you don't lose any moisture. I'm gonna turn the machine off. It's completely clear. I'm gonna take this off. All the bubbles dissipate. It's very hot. So we're gonna pour this into here. It's almost like a thick syrup. This takes about an hour or so to cool. You definitely wanna have it all the way cold before you do the next stage. So we've got our fluid gel that's cooled off. It's a nice firm brick. Put it back into the blender, blend it smooth into a gel. So we're gonna strain this just to make sure that there's no chunks in there. Little gravity force. So this on its own make a really good little dessert in a cup, maybe with some granola. Okay, so to the vacuum machine. So this is actually pretty cool. So we're gonna see the transition back into that clear gel brick that we had before we added a bunch of air into it through blending. We're gonna cook our filling, and then once our filling is cooked and cooled, then we add this back into that filling base, and then we have the super apple pie filling. So we've got in here our dehydrated apples, our twice freeze-dried apples, apple juice concentrate. They've been hydrating. We're gonna cook the filling. We're gonna add some spices to this. We're gonna add some butter, and we're actually gonna cook it just until everything hydrates and gets juicy.
Can you talk about something else while you do that?
Don't burn it.
Talk about how good it smells though,
It
right?
smells
Amazing.
insane.
Insane apple.
Wait, so how many apples are in the pot right now?
This is actually, 112 because there's
112 right here?
112 because
So
there's
there's everything but the crust apples.
everything,
There's only 2.
everything but the crust
I
apples.
kept beating him up for that. Like, why'd you only put 2 in the crust? And he goes, well, you know. And that's all he said.
You can only put so much in the crust.
Did you try 10?
We tried
you?
tried a lot and it wasn't as flaky.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think it's because of the sugar?
I
Or
think it's the apple mass.
just like the
Yeah.
volume of the fiber cellulose and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff?
So this is looking pretty good here, guys. I've got a nice tight, my bubbles in the syrup are tightening up.
Actually, can I add something
Yeah,
to keep interrupting you?
yeah.
So we did this activity on, which is not published. We should work on it and publish it. It's amazing. It's called like vegetable jerky.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So you take like a whole carrot or whole parsnip or celery root or tomatoes and peppers.
this is done. Sorry.
That's all right. And then you roast them, and then you dehydrate them. We brine them, roast them, dehydrate them, then rehydrate them, and you get this most amazing meaty jerky texture. And that's what I'm thinking of when I see these apples. Because look how, you couldn't do that with fresh apple, like stir them and beat them up, they'd be mush.
Yeah.
They'd break apart and turn into mush. But they're like made chewier and just more like, I don't know, like they're just more firm and durable in a good way.
Meaty.
Yeah, they're meatier.
During the cooling process, this will actually just set and suck into those apples. Apple flavor. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, we're gonna cool this, and once it's cold, we're gonna fold in the apple gel that we made. Then we can roll out our pie crust and assemble the super apple pie. This pie dough, we're gonna add in some apple powder, so we need to make the apple powder first. Let's weigh out our freeze-dried apples. Gonna blitz these into a powder. Apple powder right into the flour mixture for the pie dough. The flatter you press it out, the faster it'll chill, the easier it will be to roll out. One bottom, one top. So we have our filling that's cooled down. Then we're gonna add the gel into that. Beautiful gel. So this is 112. I guess before when we cooked it, it didn't have the 112 because it needed the 33 from the gel, right? And just looking to make a nice even mixture. That's it. And we're gonna put it in the pie shell. So I recommend egg washing the rim first so you don't have to go back and then your brush is gonna dip in the apple filling. So I'm gonna put the filling in right in the center. It's a lot of pie filling. I'm gonna smooth this out. Keep it mounded up in the center there. I'm gonna gently pat it in the center and work our way out. We don't really want any air bubbles. We're gonna vent this after it's chilled. And then we're gonna walk around the rim and just gently pinch right there. Okay, we got a good seal. Now we're gonna trim around here and crimp the edge. To make a nice little edge design, use the back of a dowel. A chopstick would work good as well. Just something you want rounded and not the sharp tip end, but the rounded. 2 fingertips down or a thumb, but we're gonna go right in between that and kind of pull towards the inside of the finger. You just walk around. Some people can't have egg, so maybe do a milk wash. So we've chilled our pie for at least 4 hours. We're gonna cut some slits in it. We're gonna wrap the rim in foil so it's protected during the first part of the baking. Halfway through the baking, we're gonna remove it, and that way that crust can continue to get golden brown. We're gonna bake it on the bottom rack of the oven for right around 2 hours. We did it. We baked a super apple pie. We put as many apples in as we could. We reached 114 apples.
Damn!
Should we cut it into 8 slices? Hear that crust crunch? That's a big piece of pie.
Dude, I just can't get over the texture. And the crust is perfect.
It's creamy.
Yeah, creamy and still has those like really meaty, chewy apples. We gotta bring a piece up for Mike. I want the guys' associates to try some. They have to see what we've done with all their apples. Yeah! Yeah, we're gonna go. Yeah! We have some apple pie for you to try. You guys can all try this. It's intensely appley.
Oh, man. The longer it stays in your mouth, it still changes the whole thing.
Nobody
Yeah.
puts apple through skin on.
I know, I love it.
It's the best. Oh.
Whoa, okay, I'm gonna steal a piece of.
Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. It's super apple pie. How do you like them apples? How do you like these apples? We took a slice of this pie and put it in the freeze dryer. Voila.
This is a good learning opportunity. You take it to the match, find out what the edge is, then you dial it back down.
We also took a slice of pie and made some ice cream with it
Where is it?
in the freezer.
Oh, can we try it?
Yeah.
This is like the never-ending apple story.
This is unlike any apple pie filling I've ever made.
I gotta stop eating this.
Do they get gassy?